Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Okay. So today we are continuing our novel as usual. It has been a wonderful morning. So, give me a sec. Put up the atmosphere music. We'll close the door. And we'll start crafting some magic here. There we are. We are back. All right. So, oh, I forgot my water. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay. So, all right. The first thing that Hawken noticed when he came to was a splitting headache that lay in a band around the front of his head. His forehead. His forehead. There's a reason why they make that word. He could clearly feel the blood pumping in his ears. With each pulse, sharp stabbing pain would flare in his temples and behind his eyes. He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts, but it felt as if he were dredging them through mud. I actually like that symbolism. Blinking, he tried to look around to put the scene in focus, but he found that it was difficult as forming a coherent thought. It took him several moments to center himself, slowing his breath and looking inward to try and calm his heartbeat from pounding and making the pain even worse. The technique had been much easier when training, but at this moment he found it frustratingly difficult to achieve, as if he were grasping at smoke. In time, he managed to gain some sense of calmness, and that in turn allowed him to put his focus back to his surroundings. He first noticed the feeling that his arms were above his head. He tried moving them and realized that they had been clasped in irons, the sound of the manacles clanking against the stone wall behind him, and the tightening of the metal rough and sharp against his bare skin. He looked up and confirmed this. Alright. He looked up to confirm this when, but he still couldn't see, and he felt his right eye clogged up. So it was hard to open. This is a very bad phrase. How do I optimize this one? He looked up to confirm this, but he still couldn't see. Right. If I break it up, he felt his right eye clogged up, as it was hard to open it. He also felt I think that's fine now. That'd be a good way to do it. As he moved his head around, concerned for his lack of eyesight, he also felt another pain throbbing on his forehead. Not as sharp as the headache. He could taste the unmistakable metallic hint of blood in his mouth, and he felt a tightening sensation going from the pain on the right side of his face down to his chin. Must have had a nasty cut on his forehead. Although it seemed it had already stopped bleeding. Forehead. Front. Right? Brow. Above his brow. I think that'd be easier. Through his trousers, he felt the cold, damp stonework underneath him. Suddenly, a thought struck him like a hammer on an anvil. What had happened to his companions? The last thing he could remember was looking at his sister as the stonework had come crumbling down around him, feeling a sense of acceptance and hope that it'd be done, that he'd done what he'd done would spare their lives. Just as the realization struck him, his heartbeat started rising once more, and so did the iron band of pain around his head. Bastard headache, he said to himself. Curse. Even that came with an effort. Getting a grip on his breathing once more, he was able to finally try. Was able to once more look around. Try and look around where he lay. I think that's the best way to do it. Hawk panicked. As a first, again, we've said that already. How do I make this more sensical? So, couldn't see anything. And he panicked. Worried the damage the stonework done had caused him to lose sight forever. They took some deeper breaths to steady himself once more. The old musky smell that had accompanied them through their journey in the underground was much stronger here. Then he realized that it wasn't his sight that was the problem. The room actually lay in pitch black. And not semi black darkness, save for a sliver of light that came from the minute opening under the door. Lay open under. Hey, Lucas, hello, buddy. I'm good. How are you? I'm just rereading this last thing that I wrote yesterday, trying to make a mess more coherent. How are you? How's your weekend been? How's life? So, you're ranting at the lunch break again. I'm happy to hear. He took some deeper breaths to steady himself once more. The old musky smell that accompanied them through their journey in the underground was much stronger here. Then realized that it wasn't sight that was the problem. The room actually lay in pitch black darkness, save for a sliver of light that came from what he assumed to be a door. It's far right. Okay, I think that's more coherent. So, how did you enjoy the writing group? Did you find it useful in the end? And how have you been getting on with writing? Packing things and moving and writing, sometimes finish interrogation scene act 1. That's nice. That's amazing. Congratulations. Are you happy about that? Yeah, I remember you saying you were moving. It's gonna take a few weeks for you to do that. Moving is always stressful. I hope that's going well. I'm happy for you, my friend. Noises upside. With an effort, tries to access the power inside his mind. And this was impossible, as he felt complete emptiness behind his consciousness. The familiar feeling of torrent of energy lying in wait was gone, and that terrorized that made him more anxious than when he had thought, than thinking he had lost. He had gone blind. Yeah, I just need to plan a bit. I like the writing group notes, and we'll work on the parts to get feedback. That's amazing. I'm very happy. Very happy for you. I mean, in the end, that's why we have the writers group, right? To be able to motivate each other, help each other grow, and share our love for writing. I believe. I apologize. I'm eating. I didn't mean to speak with my mouth full, but okay. So let's try and see again. Enjoy your lunch. What are you having for lunch? Okay, so let's try and read this part again. I was yesterday when I wrote it, I was like, yeah, it's okay. Now I was like, oh, it's a mess. So I'll see if I've made it a bit more sensical. I always reread the last 2 pages before starting to write new content for the chapters. Well, the first thing that Hawk noticed when he came to was the splitting headache that lay in a band around his forehead. He could clearly feel the blood pumping in his ears. Thorn band around it. He could clearly feel the blood pumping in his ears, and with each pulse, a sharp stabbing pain would flare in his temples and behind his eyes. He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts, but it felt as if he were dredging them through mud. Blinking, he tried to look around to put the scene in focus, but he found that as difficult as forming a coherent thought. It took him several moments to center himself, blowing his breath and looking inward, to try and calm his heartbeat from pounding and making the pain even worse. Technique had been much easier when training, but at this moment found it frustratingly difficult to achieve, as if he were grasping at smoke. Um, a cinnamon for easy I could use here. Straightforward. In time, he managed to gain some sense of calmness, and that in turn allowed him to put his focus back to his surroundings. He first noticed the feeling that his arms were above his head. Um, I think the feeling is not necessary. He first noticed that his arms were above his head. Tried moving them, realized that they had been clasped in irons. The sound of the manacles clanking against the stone wall behind him, and the tightening of the metal rough and sharp against the bare skin. He looked up to confirm this, but he still couldn't see. He also felt his right eye clogged up as it was hard to open. As he moved his head around, concerned for his lack of eyesight, He also felt another pain throbbing on his forehead, not as sharp as the headache. He could taste the unmistakable metallic hint of blood in his mouth, and he felt a tightening sensation growing from the pain on the right side of his face down to his chin. He must have had a nasty cut above his brow, although it seemed it had already stopped bleeding. Through his trousers, he felt the cold, damp stonework underneath him. Suddenly, the thought struck him like a hammer on an anvil. What had happened to his companions? The last thing he could remember was looking at his sister as the stonework had come crumbling down around him, feeling a sense of acceptance, hope that what he'd done was spare their lives. Just as the realization struck him, his heartbeat started rising once more, and so did the iron band of pain around his head. Blasted headache. He cursed himself. Even that came with an effort. Getting a grip on his breathing once more, he tried to look around. He lay. Hawk still couldn't see anything, and he panicked, worried that the damage the stonework had done caused him to lose his sight forever. He took some breaths, some deeper breaths, to steady himself once more. The old musky smell that accompanied them through their journey in the underground was much stronger here. Then he realized. Then he realized it wasn't his sight that was the problem. The room actually lay in pitch black darkness, save for a sliver of light that came from what he assumed to be a door on his far right. With an effort, he tried to access the power inside of his mind, but this was impossible, as he felt a complete emptiness behind his consciousness. The familiar feeling of the torrent of energy lying in wait was gone. That made him feel more anxious than thinking he had gone blind. Okay, cool. That's a bit flowy. Flows a bit better. Pasta salad. Ooh. Nice your girlfriend made. Yeah, these women are amazing, eh? Funny enough, we actually had pasta salad. What was it? Sunday. Yesterday. Yesterday was Monday, no? Yeah. Oh no, it was Sunday. Sunday, yeah. It was really good. We grilled some veggies. Stuck it in the pasta. And that was delicious. Are you awake? Came a voice opposite to him. Hawk couldn't recognize it, but it sounded like an older man with a rasping tone. I am, he replied, and coughed as his throat had gone dry. Where are you? Where are we? He asked. He heard the sound of metal clanking opposite of him, and then the rustling of the stranger, as he must have tried to stand up. Name is Ethan, friend, the voice said. So where we are, I think we're in a prison of sorts. Okay, that's not too bad. What do you think? Lucas, I don't know if you paid attention, but I really, really wanted to bring the attention. Oh, I was just saying, what do you think about the chapter? I don't know if you paid attention. I wanted to try and bring the attention to his senses and lack thereof, and I think it's okay. Not great. I like the flow again. I can't say much about the coherence of the chapter. Okay, fair enough. All right, so they're in a prison. They're discussing. I think what will come natural first is for him to ask where his companions may be. You know? Have you seen to other people being brought in. Rock asked, worry, heart, for his, for Elianda and Charles. Last time he had seen them, they had also been close to the lap ceiling, and he hoped that they too had made it. I think they are lying somewhere in this room. Voice said once more. Although you are the first of your group to wake up. Hey. Do any of your characters have nicknames or short forms of your names used? Yeah, but none of these here. It's I have Jim and Bob, so it's Robert and James. Yeah, they're the only ones to do. The other ones don't really have any nicknames. I don't know why. Felt more natural for some reason. I think it's also a culture thing, but also the way that they are, the character. They're a bit more Boondock Saints meets Supernatural meets like two goofy idiots. So how about yours? I don't actually know what would classify as like a reason to put um nickname over not putting one. You know? For me it has to feel natural. I was thinking about it. Most people in my friends group don't have one, I think. At least not one people use frequently. Yeah. Most nicknames, the way they come, funny enough, I had this discussion with somebody a while back. So they come from when you're a kid, right? So it's either something to do with your name, shortened or made like, child's way simplified, or it comes from like a thing or a fact, or like cultures like in Italy, is not necessarily have to do with the actual name. Like, won't sound anything like the name. Like, if you think about it, you have in English, in England, I think also in US, Dick as a nickname, where it's not really a nickname, it's more like a name. People call him, hey, Dick. But it's not like as the, an insult is, because is the nickname of Richard, and it went from Richard to Rick to Dick for some reason. I don't know. So that's why I think it just has to come natural. And it's sort of like if your sister called you that, or your friends call you that as you were growing up, or your parents, then it kind of sticks, you know? And of course, if you give yourself a nickname, it's kind of weird. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. So, what was the last part you heard? Oh, sorry, I didn't get a notification for the ads for some reason. What was the last part that you managed to hear? I think they're lying somewhere in this room. Although you are the first of your group vague. Are they okay? Did you manage to see them? So yeah. Oh, okay. So what I was saying, basically, I had this discussion with somebody and a while back, and when the problem is like nicknames stem from early childhood or from friend groups. Um, they're kind of, if we're not talking like it's either a change of your name. So, for example, in England, in the United States, I think also overall in the UK, Dick is a nickname for Richard. Went from Richard to Rick to Dick for some reason. So there's abbreviation like Jim for James and Bob for Robert, and that's just comes from the family using it or your friends. Or there's also something like nothing to do with your name at all that just becomes your nickname and people just call you that. And again, it's usually stems from friends and family. Like I had a friend that was called Mamo, but it had nothing to do with his name, and it was because his sister called him that as he was little, and just kind of stuck it with him, and his parents would call him that. So yeah, so that would mainly be reason for it. So yeah, I have two characters who have nicknames in my story, and they are my non-main characters. One is Jim and one is Bob. And that's again in my backstory in my head, it comes from their sister, the small sister, calling them that. Um and their friends kind of. So it's just their family that call them that. Granted their sister is much smaller than they are. That ah I don't know. It's just that's the thing. Elianda is a name that I've heard before. I think. I mean, it's not something that I. It's just the inflation with the apostrophe I made. I don't remember where I heard that name, and I just kind of take from what my brain throws at me. That's the thing. Like I have here, um, list of names, right? That is just oh, that'd be a cool name to use. And I have names that sound more um correct for specific places in my universe. So, for example, someone called Kineji is going to be from Rathios, which is kind of inspired by Asia, right? Whereas somebody named Edmund is going to be more from the West, right? Um, so these are all names that I have. I have names just spawn in my head. I don't know how. It's kind of like the story. That's my brain, man. Yeah, that's like for example, I don't know how I got Zasha. Zasha is a seer in the League of Thieves beggars, and she's a she kind of foretell the future. She's a fortune teller of sorts, but a real one, and she's also the head of like a shadow league in the world of the spies that are around the city and also in the region in general. So I don't know how I got that name. It just popped. I was like, I need a name for this person. Click. And funny enough, it just popped because that person wasn't actually there. But when I went to reread, I did a big reread and rewrite initial of the chapters that I'd done to after like the 6 or whatever years break that I took from writing because the story had developed further in my head. So I was like, I need a character here. Funny enough, there's a added whole people that weren't there before. Um, so yeah, it's just like that. Anyway, rambling. Okay, are they okay? Did you manage to see them? Yeah. Grief and anxiety. Fighting. Side by side. And his gut. Alright, buddy. You have a good one, alright? Thank you so much for stopping by. That's a good way to do it, by the way. That's a very good way to do it. Right. Hard to see much. Just darkness, friend. But I do believe they were asked out as you were. Well, nasty gash all over their bodies. Did the monsters get you? Do you remember how you got here? Hadn't even thought all that. How had he? Actually, how had he? Yeah, thought of that. You mean, wait, monsters brought you here? That's Hulk. Realizing what the stranger. My mate and I were in the tunnels hunting food and supplies for the family, and all of a sudden got ambushed by what seemed like blood. Something came out. Couldn't believe eyes. I thought he'd be dead, but we were dragged back here. At least I believe so. I haven't much memory of how I got here. Once I came to, friend, gone. I blocked this yourself. Actually, Oh. Friend and I were alone. They're back. Okay. Alright. So, a stone. How could tell that man was terrified? Counting the story. And he remembered of the lady. Hey, bless. That was okay. That's okay. Just thoughts bothering me, but all good. How are you? How you doing? Any news on your side? No news. Okay. They ain't even call for morning visits, though. Yeah, well, bureaucracy takes a long while. I would reckon you'll hear something eventually, but won't be anytime soon. I hate it because I can imagine it's gonna keep you on pins and needles until you actually get an answer and understanding what's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen. Um, and not knowing usually is the worst part. But yeah, completely understood. Hawk could tell that the man was terrified. We're kind of sorry. And then, yeah, yeah, thought struck. Any chance is your mother's name Norma? Was a pause from the other side, and then with emphasis, the voice said, "How do you know that? Oh, that stone sounded suspicious. I don't recall all voices. Don't recall all seeing you in the league or in the underground. Oh, wait a second. You seem to have taken worst of the brunt. Worst of it. With that nasty gash on your head. There you go. All seen underground. Gareth brought us through. I think he had a chat with your mother before we came here. She was worried you'd disappeared. Another awkward pause. Came interrupted their discussion. Not interrupted, but lingered between I think that's the best. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like it's flowing all that well. 425 words, not bad. I'm gonna reread part here. Just as the realization struck him, his heartbeat started rising once more, and so did the iron band of pain around his head. Blasted headache. Cursed himself. Even that came with an effort. Getting a grip on his breathing once more, he tried to look around where he lay. Hawk still couldn't see anything. He panicked, worried that the damage the stonework had done had caused him to lose his sight. Whatever. He took some deeper breaths to steady himself once more. The old musky smell that had accompanied them through their journey in the underground was much stronger there. Then he realized that it wasn't his sight that was the problem. The room actually lay in pitch black darkness, save for a sliver of light that came from what he assumed to be a door on his far right. With an effort, he tried to access the power inside of his mind. This was impossible, but he found it impossible. He found it impossible. As he felt a complete emptiness behind his consciousness, familiar feeling of the torrent of energy lying in wait was gone. That made him more anxious than anything he had Then thinking he had gone blind. Be awake, came a voice opposite. Hawk couldn't recognize it, but it sounded like an older man with a rasping tone. I am, he replied, coughed as his throat had gone dry. Why you? Where are we? He asked. He heard the sound of metal clanking opposite of him, and the rustling of the stranger as he must have tried to stand up. My name is Ethan, friend, the voice said. As to where we are, I think we're in a prison of sorts. Have you seen two other people being brought in? Hawk asked, worrying in his heart for Yolanda and Charles. At the same time, the last time he had seen them, it had also been close to the collapsing ceiling, and he hoped that they too had made it. I think they're lying somewhere in this room, the voice said once more, although you are the first of your group to wake. Were they okay? Did you manage to see them? Relief and anxiety fighting side by side in his gut. And hard to see much in this darkness, friend, but I do believe they're passed out, as you were, and with nasty gashes all over their bodies. You seem to have taken the worst of it. That nasty. Uh, cut on your head. the, the monsters get you. Do you remember how you got here? How had he gotten here? He hadn't thought of that. Wait, the monsters brought you here? Asked Hawk, realizing the stranger meant. Aye, my mate and I were in the tunnels hunting for food and supplies for the family, and all of a sudden we got ambushed by something that came out of the water. Couldn't believe my eyes. I thought we'd be dead. We were dragged back here. At least I believe so. I haven't much memory of how I got here. Once I came to, my friend and I were locked in this here cell. It's fine. That's wanted to be written like that. In a sec. Class, are you here, by the way? I don't know if you can hear me. Just wanted to ask if you could, of course, it goes without saying, but if you could keep us up to date, especially me, really appreciate it. Happen. So, ooh, right. So, Hawk could tell the man was terrified, recounting the story, and then the thought struck him. By any chance is your mother's name Norma? There was a pause from the other side, and then with emphasis the boy said, "How do you know that?" Tone sounded suspicious. I don't recall at all seeing you in the league or the underground. Charles brought us through. I think he had a chat with your mother before we came here. He was worried that you disappeared. Another awkward pause lingered between them. Hawk held if the man was distrustful of them or otherwise just odd. Anyone going through same experience and they'd had would definitely be taken. After all, he didn't quite know how, but somehow I couldn't shake feeling back of mine. There was something weird about Ethan. He dismissed it. After all, he too would be suspicious in the same circumstance. How long have you been here for? Hop asked. And do you know how long we've been? Hey Luffy, hey buddy. What are you doing? Day to you, my friend. Do you know how long we've been in here as well? Hard to tell without any sunshine. Any just windows down here. days. It all just seems to clump up together. So good as always. How about you? I'm okay. I've been okay day so far. Just trying to write away. I've not had, I don't know, today's a bit of a sluggish day. I'm not in the greatest headspace, I guess, but yeah, it's been good. Just hard to get the words out of my mind, I guess. I think that's how much we wrote so far. Yep. Oh. Right. I don't know why today is so sluggish. Some days it's worse than others, right? Right. Hard to tell without any windows on days. Weeks. It all just seems to clump up together. Splitting panic just wouldn't quit. Oh, Ask It Expert, thank you so much for that follow on Kick. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Oh, never mind. Thought. It's always like that. Banned. There you go. Get a follow and then it's a bot. Yay. Cool. Split and Hanger just wouldn't quit. Matter. What? It was still hard for parent thoughts, but he knew in his gut that they needed to get out of there. Did you see our I are there people keeping us chains, irons? He asked, thinking that the two type of monsters they had met had wouldn't have been able to likely place them upland painting. Oh, hello. That's lovely. Trying to get some boots upgraded for my dork. Like the guys like, oh yeah, the current offer is 70 billion 200 like fuck sake. Oh my god, it's 2 GA boots as well for the Sork. As I don't really need any upgrades for right now for the Rogue. I was thinking, you know what, I'll just go for the Sork. I offered him 75 billion 200 Thanks to that trade I did yesterday, I'm able to trade the ohms. And anyway, the season's gonna end soon enough, so fuck it. Though I thought I would keep my freaking. I guess I won't. I really don't need the boots. That's the thing, but. Okay. Yeah, me what you get. Good. A cell. Let alone. As I met. Yeah, I was thinking that the two types of monster they had met were very unlikely to have put them in a cell. He wondered if the monsters weren't working with someone else. Humans, perhaps? After all, Colt had been infiltrated. So it was very possible that more people had been recruited their side. Yes. I have tried. The men come and go quietly. They bring us what brought us water and barely any food. They never speak. And I never caught a glimpse of their faces. What happened to your friend? Is he still here with us? Not trying to look around. Oh, actually, this go first. Oh, trying to look around the room once more. But his eyesight and peers through the darkness. It felt as heavy as the feeling he had gotten when looking down the tunnels before their fight. Hmm. Oh, yo, yo, yo. Another pause followed. Yay, Tunes! Hello, buddy. Good afternoon. How are you, my friend? Sleep okay? I'm gonna be right back. I just need to get something to drink, alright? Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm just doing something in the other thing. Window just. All right. Those damn those things took him. Two of those. He came in and pulled him out of the prison, and all I could hear from him were his screams. Screamed throughout the night. Night. Screamed for hours. Tried and tried to get myself free. There was nothing I could do. I haven't seen him since. Right, so let me reread this part, okay? Let's just see, because I don't know why. It's just not flowing, alright? It might just be my mind, it's okay. But it's just not flowing just so easily today. Alright. Are you awake? Came a voice opposite to him. Hawk couldn't recognize it, but it sounded like an older man, with a rasping tone. I am, replied and coughed as his straw had gone dry. Who are you? Are we? He heard the sound of metal clanking opposite of him and the rustling of strangers. He must have tried to stand up. "Name is Ethan, friend," the voice said. "Where we are, I think we're in a prison of sorts. Have you seen two other people being brought in?" Hawk asked, pouring his heart for Leander and Charles. The last time seen them, it had also been close to the collapsing ceiling, and he hoped they'd made it too. I think they're lying somewhere in this room. It was said. More. Better. Although you are the first one of your group to wake. You okay? Did you manage to? Are they okay? Did you manage to see them? Said with relief and anxiety fighting side by side in his gut. Hard to see much in this darkness, friend. I do believe they were passed out. You were. There were nasty gashes all over the bodies. Seem to have taken the worst of it with that nasty cut on your head. Vicious. Did the monsters get you? Do you remember how you got here? How had he gotten? I hadn't even thought of that. Wait, monsters brought you here? Asked Hawk, realizing what the stranger meant. I, my mate and I were in the tunnels hunting for food and supplies for the family, when all of a sudden got ambushed by something that came out of the water. Couldn't believe my eyes. I thought we'd be dead. We were dragged back here. At least, if so. I haven't much memory of how I got here. Once I came to, my friend and I were locked inside this here cell. I could tell that the man was terrified recounting the story. And then the thought struck him. Any chance? Mother's name Norma? The pause from the other side. Then, with emphasis, the voice said, "How do you know that?" Tony sounded suspicious. Don't recall at all seeing in the league or in the underground. Charles brought us through. I think he'd had a chat with your mother before we came here. I was worried that you disappeared. Another awkward pause lingered between them. Paul couldn't tell if the man was distrustful of them or otherwise. Just odd. Anyone going through the same experience that they had anyone going through the same experience they had would be shaken. But somehow Hawk couldn't shake the feeling at the back of his mind. Something weird, odd about Ethan. He dismissed it. After all, he too would be suspicious in the same circumstances. How long have you been here for? Asked Hawk. How do you know how long? And do you know how long we've been here in here as well? Hard to tell. Sunny windows down here. Days, weeks. It all just seems to clump up together. Split headache wouldn't quit, no matter what. Still hard to form coherent thoughts. Like he knew in his gut that they need to get out of there. Did you see our captors here? Are there people keeping us in irons? He asked, thinking that the two types of monster they had met were very unlikely to have put them in a cell. He wondered if the monsters weren't working with someone else, humans perhaps. After all, the cult had been infiltrated, so more people might have been recruited to the side. Yes, I have, replied Ethan. Men come and go, quietly. They brought us water and barely any food. Speak. Never caught a glimpse of their faces. Hawk tried to look around the room more, but his eyesight could pierce through the darkness. It felt as heavy as the feeling he had gotten when looking down the tunnels before their fight. What happened to your friend? He's still here with us. Another pause followed. Those things took him. The man, hey, can we do something? The man said with a dry tone. They came in and pulled him out of the prison. and all I could hear from him were scream for hours. I cried and I tried to get myself free. There was nothing I could do. I haven't seen him since. Okay, so that's fine. It's not that bad actually. Makes sense. It's flowing all right. Just for some reason out of me, sometimes it's flowing better and sometimes it's going worse. It's 758 words, so it's still better than what I wrote yesterday. I think overall it's not a bad start. The thing that I want to do is for them to have a discussion, but at the same time, Ethan is gonna be wanting to understand a bit more about Hawk, and Hawk is gonna want to try and figure out a way for them to get out. So Hawk is gonna ask about how, you know, things that could get him free. How many people are they guarded? How often did they come? All this sort of mumbo jumbo to try and see if there's a way. Um, I think we're gonna have to let some time pass as well. Like I'm gonna have to do a small jump because I don't want it to be tu. So basically, we'll probably have to have one of the captors come in. Uh, water. Okay, so we're gonna say that one of the captors is gonna have to come in, and that will explain the nature of the captors in a way, kind of hints at, and then from there he can start to hatch a plan. Not gonna be as easy. Um, yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. It's an odd chapter, this one, because it's a chapter that I didn't foresee in having to write it at all. My story wasn't gonna go here. So this is very much just like the previous chapters, like previous 2, 3 chapters. Actually, half, 1.5 chapter, because part of the previous chapter was going to happen. It's just it wasn't going to be the confrontation, the fight, and the split up of the group with 3 of them getting captured. So yeah, and it's kind of slowly building up as I'm writing, which is pretty good. At the same time, it's frustrating because it's not going at the same flow as I usually would, and I don't think as well it's I'm in the best mindset right now to write. I still wanted to come in and write, but there are times where writing is easier than others, and especially if you're preoccupied. Well, at least for me, if I'm preoccupied or other thoughts, or I'm tired, or all this kind of stuff that just kind of clump up and become hindrance to being able to write properly. I think that is the worst of it. But yeah, it's all right. I don't think it's a bad start for the chapter. It's not a. I mean, we've written what? Why? If I remove that, um, that. Remove these. These are 36 words, so like 1,330 something words. It's not bad. 2 days. Usually I write more. That's my frustration. I'm a bit more. But yeah, it's not bad. I just can't see myself. Like, how do I get them out of this room? That's my biggest concern is what happens that could be logical enough or sensical enough to get them out of the room. Because if they're trapped, the only thing that I can think of is Hawk eventually clears his head. Or somebody hints at the fact that what's in the water, or if they do say that, then the character that Ethan is has to react, and that poses a big problem to the flow. So I'm wondering if I can't keep him in here for a little while longer. But how do I do that? Because that's the tricky part. This is the hard part of the scene of this overall what the group is right now. How do I get them out? That is the all right. Let us know. Hey, Kat, how are you? That's good to know, and I'm very happy to hear that you managed to sleep. Sorry, guys, I'm just very deep in thought here, deep and trying to make out what I'm going to be doing with this here chapter because it's just a struggle, you know. Sometimes, like I know how like something's gonna happen. I just need to reconcile the two groups, and it's gonna be a mess how to do that. Because either the group that is currently in the prison makes it up by themselves, whilst they uncover something that's happening underground that prompts a much bigger piece of the puzzle to be put in place, and then moves part of the group to do something much larger at a later time. Or then the other part of the group finds them somehow, but it wouldn't be realistic because of what's in this place. It wouldn't be realistic that they managed to. So it's either blind luck or something happened. Luck could play a part. Could play a part in chapter. I mean, luck plays a part in life. I hate to think of it more as a like a armor plot armor or stuff like that. I just don't like plot armors. I want it to feel like, granted, he's the main character. You're always thinking like, oh, the main character is not really going to die. Not the truth, but you know, still, you want to be uh, railed in and thinking, okay, doing well. How are you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm just puzzled, trying to figure out where I want to take this chapter. And more so, how do I get them out of the plays? Because basically, Ethan isn't who he actually says he is. The monsters in this area that have captured them have supernatural powers. One of them is to be able to take the form. Like they are the older kind of Aziza. Basically, there's several developmental stages, and they use the bodies of other people to become the shape of that person. I mean, Ethan is actually one of the monsters. That's who he is at the moment. But he's also taken part of, not all of the knowledge of the person that they have basically hijacked, which is not really hijacking, but I don't want to go into too much. So because of that, Ethan is there to try and grasp at the power that Hawk has, whilst basically saving time for the bigger forces at play and on the side of the villains to come and get them, right? In a way, one way. Um, that's one piece of the puzzle that I'm struggling with. Is okay, if he is that powerful and he's there, it's going to be really really tricky for our group to get themselves districated out of there, unless the monster gets very cocky, which wouldn't make sense, and kind of lets them by themselves. Um, of course, that could be pushed because perhaps Charles, knowing the real Ethan, gets suspicious at plus the feeling that Hawk has. So perhaps that could be play here. Because he's the only person that actually knows the real Ethan. Um, well, then how the fuck do I get them out of this room? How do they save themselves? I just can't see it well. It's not quite a writer's block. It's more like because I can still write, and perhaps as I move on to the scene, my mind will unlock it. But I just can't see it yet. And it's funny enough, it's what happened with the previous chapter. No, the one previous to previous chapter, second to last chapter. I was just stuck in a certain place. I was like, okay, so going through the tunnels, something happens, and then the group gets split, and somebody's life gets in danger, and eventually three of them are going to get killed. And I was like, I don't know how to get them there, and then eventually it just happened. So I'm hoping that that's what will happen here as well. As I'm writing, my brain will show me this sequence of events. Just as we were talking, I got ideas, so that's the good thing on it. So Charles gets talking, and Yanda comes to. They try and form plot to get out of there. Charles speaks. Ethan try and understand what happened to them and to see if there's a way out. He gets suspicious of him, pushes the point. Villain is discovered. Like that could be the thing. Again, I'm just kind of like pantsing it here as I'm talking about things. It's just I need to have a little bit more foresight, because if I don't know where the scene is gonna go next, just enough, it's just as if I were riding a bicycle and just kind of bashing myself through a wall constantly, constantly until I find the right door that is open, and I don't really like that because it makes me feel like the flow is jarring, like there's no proper flow in this conversation. Um, yeah, okay, cool. I think this is where we can. I think this is a good enough place for that. As I said, 700 something words is not a bad continuation, and yeah, I'll have good days and bad. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna have to do is when I go and set up courses, I'm gonna get myself set up to swap to Diablo. And why is it now it's showing? I'll go and try and make some food. and start the game over. So I'll have a short pause stop so I can break up the stream in YouTube because otherwise the stream gets picked up and like it won't separate them. So I'll put our on BRB and then stop the stream and then start it right away. For you guys, it shouldn't take more than a couple seconds to be reconnected, and then I'll put it on BRB as I'm going to make some food. I'll be back after that. So I have hair, it was just cat hair everywhere. So with that, I'll see you guys in a second. All right.